Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me and thank you for your continued support. Kemi Badenoch is under a little bit of scrutiny at the moment. Now, of course, she is one of the people who is vying to become the new leader of the Conservative Party, and they have a lot of work to do if they're to have a hope of getting themselves back into power again, although Labour aren't exactly making it hard for them. But anyway, that's a digression. So she was involved in an essay that was written, and it has something in there which could be potentially damaging for her in terms of comments towards mental health and autism and things like that, and anxiety. Now, I have to stress, and I'm going to mention this in the article, her advisors said that she was only she only wrote the foreword to this essay, so that's apparently as far as her involvement goes. But obviously she's put a name to this document, so she must have known what was in it when she wrote the foreword, or at least I would hope so. So let's have a look at it and see what it has to say. Okay, so it says, this morning, Jenrick and Badenoch are both facing criticism. Jenrick is under fire for calling the head of the NHS England to be sacked, and for attacking Labour over migration centre contracts. But Badenoch may be more serious because she has been criticised by former Tory cabinet colleague over her comments about people with autism and anxiety. At the Conservative conference, Badenoch's team released a 36-page essay called Conservatism in Crisis, which identifies many factors supposedly holding back growth. On anxiety and autism, it says, it is a positive thing that our society is now more open around mental health. However, the socialisation of mental health, whereby mental health moved from something that people worked on for their own benefit to something where everyone had to treat you differently, has both created costs and failed to improve people's mental health outcomes. A change in their perception of harm helps explains why people who had suffered events such once seen as non-traumatic now feel entitled to support. This increases demand for psychologists and therapists required to help people previously seen as able to cope. As we will set out in the forthcoming book, based on the essay, across the psychological and psychotherapy professions, numbers have risen from 102,000 in 2002 to 223,700 in 2023. Being diagnosed as neurodiverse was once seen as helpful, as it meant you could understand your own brain, and so help to deal with the world. It was an individual-focused change, but now it also affects economic advantages and protections. You have a neurodiversity diagnosis, then it's usually seen as a disability, a category similar to race or biological sex in terms of discrimination law and general attitudes. If you are a child, you may well get better treatment or equipment at school, even transport to and from home. If you are in the workforce, you are protected in employment terms from day one. You can more easily claim for unfair dismissal, and under disability rules, you can also require your employees to make reasonable adjustments to your job, and you can reveal your disability once you have been employed rather than before. In short, whereas once psychological mental health was seen as something that people should work on themselves as individuals, mental health has become something that society, schools and employers have to adapt around. Now, it does say these comments have been strongly criticised. Former Tory Justice Secretary, who has an autistic daughter, who conducted a review of employment opportunities for autistic people for the last government, after he left ministerial office, he told the Eye, which is where this is from, that it was wrong for Badenoch report to be stigmatising or lumping certain categories in with each other. He said anxiety is not a neurodiverse condition, autism is not a mental health condition. That part of the report didn't seem to me to be based on evidence, and mixed up autism with mental health is not right. It's not the correct approach to be taken to this. A spokesman for Badenoch said that she only wrote the foreword for the report, and it was wrong to say it was stigmatising people. The spokesman for Badenoch said, if we are to resolve the problem of deteriorating mental health, we must be able to point out that it is happening and how society has changed its approach to it and determine whether the approach is working. It would be wrong to infer any prejudice, and it is essential that we are able to talk about these issues without the media deliberately misleading their readers for the sake of easy headlines. What I would say to this is that I'm really glad that that this has happened. I'm really glad that mental health is more talked about than ever before, and that there's more help for people out there. There isn't a lot of help for mental health out there. You know, a lot of NHS budgets in terms of mental health teams have been very stretched, and there's not a lot of help for a lot of mental people with mental health problems. I know that myself. You know, I've had mental health problems since I was 7 years old, and you know, I've suffered from debilitating anxiety attacks for most of my life. And from, you know, for the vast majority of my life, up until maybe my late 30s, the only person who knew about it was my mum and my brother. Nobody where I worked, and my employers never knew what about my anxiety, about my mental health. I kept it from them because I was worried about being stigmatized or being judged. And I used to have time off sometimes. Well, actually, very often I would have time off because I just couldn't get into work because my anxiety was so bad. And I would just say it was a bad stomach or something. I wouldn't tell them the truth because I was too scared that I would either get fired or that I would be judged for it. So I'm very glad that this has all come out. And I think that it's important that there is help there. You know, I struggled for most of my life with my mental health, and I think that it's important that there is help out there because, you know, I mean, there was help to some extent when I was younger, but I just didn't ask for it because I was too scared. So I think that if there is help out there for people, just like physical illness, if there's a help out there for people with mental illness, I believe it's important. But let me know what you think about this. Do you agree with what this essay says, or do you think that there actually isn't enough help out there for people with mental health issues? Let me know down in the comment section what you think.